Hey everybody, it's been a while since I did one of these videos, and by a while I mean like a week. But in internet time, I think after a week they declare you dead and notify your family. So I just had some thoughts on this week in Trumplandia. Um, Good news for podcast fans of mine: Rain on Your Parade will be coming back in late April. But if you have no idea what that is, I highly suggest you check out the playlist on my YouTube channel or just subscribe to it on any podcast platform. But these videos are sort of taking the place of that temporarily. Um, had some thoughts this week, reading up on all the things that the Trump administration is doing or undoing. And there have been some headline items, obviously, like him signing an executive order to get rid of the Department of Education is a big one, although he can't actually do that. So I guess he's just lack of virtue signaling to his supporters, like, hey, I may not be able to end the Department of Education by myself, but I hate education. Yeah, thank you, President, best president of my life. And I also just finished Yellowstone. The last 6 episodes went up on Peacock this week. And I gotta say, under Joe Biden, I had the commercial-free plan, but under this Trump economy, I'm watching commercials. That's the real bellwether for where our economy is headed. How many commercials I have to watch on streaming platforms. But I realized that Trump reminds me sort of Beth Dutton. He's like the Beth Dutton of presidents, except with less stability and bigger breasts. He, I think, is just at this point not interested in being a good president. I think he's just interested in using the presidency. I think he's convinced himself in his own mind he's a great president, so that's done. Like he's ended the GOAT discussion and now he's just padding on stats. Because if you look at what he's doing, I think with tariffs, I genuinely don't think he gives a shit at this point because he can't run again. And if we get to a point where the Constitution gets amended or he ends up with a third term, it's time to get out. So that's not really realistic. But with tariffs, in the first term, he cared about what people thought because he hadn't, quote unquote, proven himself to be a great president yet. So I think he was easily persuaded from doing things because the market scared him if it went down, and he had advisors around him and he wasn't so sure of himself. But he has talked himself, with no evidence of success on his part, he has talked himself into believing that he is a great president and smarter and better than anybody who's ever advised him, except maybe Elon Musk. I think he likes delegating stuff to Elon Musk because Elon Musk has the most money. And in Trump world, there's two ways to tell if you're really great: the lightness of your skin and the amount of zeros in your bank account. So with tariffs, I think people go, oh, why is he not responding? Because I think we're on a suicide pact with Donald Trump's ego. That's where we are in America. He's going to prove to us that tariffs work. And if they don't, oh, well, I'm still president and I'm super rich. And if they do, it will validate him. But every person who knows economics better than him is saying, not a good idea. This won't end well. But I think he's now in this sort of game of chicken. And America is in the other car. He's in a golf cart going a million miles an hour, and we're in a fucking school bus going, is this nutcase going to move? And he's not, because he's convinced he has a messianic belief in himself now. And I think tariffs, it doesn't matter. The data will no longer change, will not scare him. He's just going to commit to half-baked ideas because he came up with them. Therefore, they are great and correct. And so that's just, I think, the way he's going to be governing from now on. And if that sounds scary, it should sound scary. And I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but these are the thoughts I've been having this week, is that I don't think he's going to change course. I think he believes what he is doing is right. And, not in a way that's based on anything other than supporting his own ego. People can debate and be angry at Joe Biden for his Israel stance. But I think based on his 50 years in government and international affairs, he believed in what he was doing. Totally fine if you think it was wrong, heinous, awful, great, whatever opinion you had. But I think it was based on something. I think Trump You can't really have a leader. That is some king shit. Literally, if a guy just thinks he's sort of infallible and that his judgment is to be believed and followed to the ends of the earth. Now, that's just him on policy. Obviously, I saw there are other things, like I see every day there's a new civil rights division of some part of the government being disbanded and fired and all that. But I saw an article today, and I'll leave you with this, that just gave me great discomfort, because I think, like I said, Trump, the goal of his presidency now is to satiate his own ego and to extract vengeance. I don't think he feels like he is a great president. That's not in question in his mind. So what does he want to use the presidency for? To make things better or to make things worse? And I think he wants to make things worse for a lot of people. And that's the thing. If you believe in the ideals of America, or if you like actual America and people in America, he, by his actions and opinions and words, really seems to not like most of the people in this country. And he can pretend that he likes, the poorly educated, but he doesn't. He thinks they're garbage. He likes that he amuses them, but he doesn't like, he has tremendous disdain for most of MAGA. You can just see it, how quickly he can turn on anybody who he was friends with or supported him. As soon as they do anything, he'll turn on them. So why do you think some opioid addicted Mountain Dew toothless bag of shit is somehow, doing meth in Florida while he films his cousin's OnlyFans? What makes you think that guy is somebody that Trump loves? But the real thing I wanted to talk about today, I wanted to talk about all this, but the thing that struck me today was reading about, I guess, wanting the FBI files on Martin Luther King Jr. to be released. And you might be saying, what does that have to do with anything? We should know. I think what Trump does know is that a lot of America is uneducated or unengaged, or don't practice their citizenship responsibly. And he does know this. So what I think he's hoping will happen is, anybody who's read history or pays attention to things knows that Martin Luther King was a great man, but not always a good man, not always a perfect man. And I don't know the extent of his sexual indiscretions, but I'm aware they happened. If you've seen movies about MLK or read books, you know this. Unfortunately, a lot of America doesn't, so they may not know this. And I think Trump relishes the opportunity to take down one of America's most sainted figures, especially a black one. Now, he'll go after Abe Lincoln eventually, I think, just to get the Republican goat crown. So he'll be like, he was gay and said the N-word a few times, so I guess Lincoln is not so good anymore. But first, but Lincoln's a white, so he's okay letting Lincoln survive as the goat for now in the Republican Party. But going after MLK is a perfect example of, like, I bet you this is how he'll play it if these files get released. We always thought he was a great guy, but maybe not everybody's perfect, okay? So he can play it like that and totally shit on him, or he can use it to his advantage and go, it was still a great man, not everybody's perfect. Maybe if the radical left would realize that about me, we could have a nice country and people could actually be happy, but now they want to attack me. Oh, he once said something nasty to a woman 30 years ago. He's horrible. That's what he'll do. He'll do one of those two things. And what he'll get out of it is, good. I just took out, America's greatest black, and one of Democrats, Mount Rushmore figures of wokeness. And when you combine all these three things, and I'm going to wrap it up. This is pretty good for a mini video podcast this week. When you factor all those things in, a man whose presidency is solely to satisfy his ego and need for revenge, a man whose actions, words indicate that he has nothing but contempt for a vast majority of both the people and the ideals of America, and somebody who clearly seems motivated to tear down other great people. Because once again, if we know anything about Trump, It's never good enough if he wins something. To really feel like a winner, to feed that insecurity and that nastiness inside him, he has to tear somebody down. And what a victory for this new America that's based on white people are the only ones who've ever achieved anything, than to tear down Martin Luther King Jr. And like I said, if everybody in America knew how government worked and read history and were engaged as citizens, much of what Trump does would come off as foolish or stupid or cruel. But there's so much ignorance out there that he is able to play on, that people will probably just buy again what he's saying. And I would expect people to start going, well, MLK wasn't that great a guy either, but you don't see me calling him an asshole. But you call Trump an asshole? That's right. Martin Luther King Jr. and Donald Trump, exact same thing. And they've already made that comparison on right-wing media. So not in the last day or two, but they did, I think, maybe after the Butler shooting. So have a great weekend, but I think this is just what we're going to have to endure, at least for 2 years, at least until the midterm elections. But once again, America did this to itself. And, I just hope that for the most part it ends up being reversible BS. But our reputation is, if not permanently damaged, severely damaged for the long term, thanks to Trump. And eventually what he does will hit people, will hit more and more people. But we should have never been in this position. He's very transparent. He has contempt. He's a cruel person. He's not that bright. And he cares about himself. And he's using the most awesome power this country can bestow to just wage petty vengeance for himself. He's not doing it for anybody else. And if you think he's doing it for you, you're a fucking idiot.